Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone genuinely surprised you with a TV recommendation? Not, oh, you should watch Breaking Bad. You've heard that 100 times. Not, Game of Thrones is amazing. Yes, you know, everyone knows. Not the same 5 shows that have been sitting at the top of every greatest TV ever list for the last decade. I mean, a real recommendation. Something you'd never heard of. Something that made you think, where has this been my entire life? Those recommendations are rare, and they're rare for a specific reason. We live in the peak TV era. More television is being made right now than at any point in human history. Hundreds of shows every year. And yet, the conversation stays the same. The same titles, the same debates, the same canon. The algorithm keeps feeding you what you already know, and the stuff that falls outside that circle just quietly disappears. I've watched over 130 television series. I keep a list. I rate everything. And what I've found, consistently, frustratingly, is that some of the best television ever made is sitting completely outside the mainstream conversation. Not because it isn't good enough, not because it didn't earn its place, but because it didn't have the right platform, or the right timing, or the right marketing push at the right moment. Today, I'm fixing that. 10 shows, focused, all of them criminally underrated, all of them deserving a conversation that they never got. Some of them will challenge you, some of them will destroy you emotionally, one of them is completely insane in the best possible way. By the end of this video, if I do my job right, you're going to open a new tab and start at least one of these tonight. Let's get into it. I'm starting here because this one needs the most defending. Behind Her Eyes is a Netflix miniseries, 6 episodes. And I know what some of you are thinking. I've seen the memes, I know the twist, everyone talked about this for like 2 weeks and then it disappeared. You're right, it did disappear. And that's exactly the problem. Because the conversation around Behind Her Eyes got completely hijacked by the ending. People either loved the twist or hated it, and either way, the actual show, the actual experience of watching it, got lost in the noise. Here's what Behind Her Eyes actually is. A slow-burn psychological thriller about obsession, identity, and the terrifying ways people can inhabit each other's lives without anyone noticing. The first 5 episodes build something genuinely unsettling. The atmosphere is thick. The central relationship between Louise and Adele is one of the most quietly disturbing things I've seen on television. Yes, the ending is divisive, I understand that. But a show that makes you feel genuinely uneasy for 6 straight hours, that makes you question every scene you've already watched, that deserves more than a 2-week meme cycle. If you went in already knowing the twist and never actually watched it properly, watch it again. It's a different show when you know what you're looking for. I know, stay with me. Blue Mountain State is a comedy about a college football team. It ran for 3 seasons on Spike TV, which tells you something about why nobody saw it. And it is genuinely one of the funniest, most committed pieces of absurdist comedy television has ever produced. I know, that sounds like a big claim for a show about college athletes doing stupid things. But here's the thing about Blue Mountain State. It knows exactly what it is. It never pretends to be something deeper than it is. It has a clarity of purpose that a lot of prestige comedies spend entire seasons searching for and never find. The character of Thad Castle alone, the unhinged, delusional, somehow lovable teen captain, is a more original comic creation than half the characters in shows that win Emmy Awards. Blue Mountain State is the show you put on when you need to laugh without thinking, but it's also the show you finish and immediately want more of. And the fact that it got canceled after 3 seasons while lesser comedies ran for a decade is one of television's quiet injustices. If you like comedy that commits completely to its own insane logic, this is for you.
Legion is the most visually ambitious television series I have ever watched. Full stop. This is a Marvel show, technically. It's set in the X-Men universe. But if you're picturing superhero action and villain of the week plots, you are in the wrong building entirely. Legion is a psychological puzzle. It's a show about a man who may be the most powerful mutant alive, or may be completely insane, or both, and the entire visual language of the show reflects that uncertainty. Every episode looks different. The editing is deliberately disorienting. There are musical numbers. There are silent film sequences. There is a full episode structured around a dance battle. Noah Hawley, the same person who created the Fargo TV series, built something with Legion that had no right to exist inside a corporate superhero franchise. It is weird in the best possible way, challenging in the best possible way. It got canceled after 3 seasons because general audiences couldn't follow it, which is, genuinely, their loss, because Legion is the rare show that rewards confusion. The more disoriented you feel, the more the show is working. If you want television that treats you like an adult and refuses to make things easy, Legion is waiting for you.
5 episodes. Benedict Cumberbatch, and one of the most unflinching portrayals of addiction and childhood trauma that television has ever attempted. Patrick Melrose is based on Edward St. Aubyn's semi-autobiographical novels about a British aristocrat dealing with the aftermath of severe childhood abuse through decades of drug addiction, dark humor, and a particular kind of English repression that is somehow both funny and devastating at the same time. Cumberbatch gives the best performance of his career here. Not Sherlock, not Doctor Strange. This. The way he plays a man who is simultaneously brilliant, broken, hilarious, and completely self-destructive without ever asking for your sympathy is extraordinary. This show didn't make noise when it came out because it's not an easy watch. It doesn't soften anything. It doesn't give you comfortable moments to rest in. But that commitment to honesty is exactly what makes it worth watching. 5 episodes, that's all. You can finish it in a weekend, and it will stay with you for much longer than that.
Tom Ripley, his literature's greatest anti-heroes. Patricia Highsmith created him in the 1950s, and he's been adapted multiple times, most famously with Matt Damon in the 1999 film. But the 2024 Netflix series, shot entirely in black and white, set in 1960s Italy, directed by Steven Zaillian, is something else entirely. It is slow, deliberately, almost aggressively slow. And I mean that as a compliment. Ripley has the confidence of a show that knows it has your attention and refuses to waste it on anything cheap. Every frame looks like a photograph from a lost Italian cinema masterpiece. Andrew Scott's performance as Tom Ripley is almost completely internal. He says very little, but every scene you watch him thinking, calculating, surviving. This is not a thriller in the conventional sense. It's more like watching a predator move through a beautiful landscape. Cold, precise, strangely elegant. The people who watched it were obsessed. The people who didn't, they saw slow in the reviews and kept scrolling. Their loss is significant.
The Devil's Hour is a BBC Amazon series that I genuinely cannot tell you much about without ruining it. What I can tell you is this. It starts as what appears to be a fairly conventional British crime drama. A social worker, a strange child, a series of murders. Jessica Raine and Peter Capaldi in 2 of the best performances you'll see in a British series in the last decade. And then, episode by episode, it reveals itself to be something completely different from what you thought you were watching. The way this show handles its central concept, which I'm not going to name, is the most intelligent treatment of that concept I've seen in television, ever, including shows with much bigger budgets and much bigger reputations. It ran for 2 seasons. Almost nobody outside of the UK watched it,
which means right now, today, you can go in completely cold, no spoilers, no expectations, and experience it exactly the way it was meant to be experienced. That opportunity doesn't come around often. Take it.
The Bridge is a Scandinavian crime drama, originally Swedish and Danish, that ran for 4 seasons and produced what I consider to be one of the 5 greatest character studies in television history. Saga Norén, a Swedish detective with what the show implies but never explicitly names as a neurodivergent condition, who approaches every human interaction with complete literal honesty, zero social filter, and an almost terrifying professional dedication. Saga is fascinating in the way that truly original characters are fascinating. You've never seen anyone quite like her before, and you can't stop watching her navigate a world that wasn't built for how her mind works. The crime plots are excellent. The Nordic atmosphere is unlike anything American television produces, but Saga is the reason you stay. She is the reason people who watched this show talk about it the way they talk about it, in quiet, almost reverent terms, like they witnessed something rare. 4 seasons. Start from the beginning. Don't watch any adaptations first. The original is irreplaceable.
Slow Horses is a British spy thriller on Apple TV+. It follows a team of disgraced MI5 agents, people who made mistakes, people who embarrassed the service, people who got parked in a dead-end department called Slough House to be bored into resignation, and what happens when the cases that come to them turn out to matter more than anyone expected. Gary Oldman plays Jackson Lamb. And I want to be careful here because Gary Oldman is great is not exactly a controversial statement. But what Oldman does with Lamb is genuinely special. Lamb is rude, brilliant, deliberately disgusting, occasionally cruel, and somehow the most compelling character on television right now. Every scene he's in, you can't look away. But what makes Slow Horses more than just a vehicle for a great performance is the writing. Mick Herron's source novels are exceptional, and the adaptation respects them completely. This is a show about institutional failure, about the human cost of being disposable, about competence existing in unexpected places. It has things to say, real things. It's currently 4 seasons in. Every season is as good as the last. This is the show that people who love television, people who want to be challenged and rewarded at the same time, have been quietly recommending to each other for 3 years. Now, I'm recommending it loudly. I have recommended The Leftovers to more people than any other show on this list. And every single time, I have the same conversation. First, I explain the premise. 2% of the world's population suddenly and inexplicably vanishes. No explanation, no science fiction resolution, no answers. Just gone. And the show is about the people left behind. Then I watch whoever I'm talking to get a look on their face that says, "That sounds depressing, I'll pass." And then I explain, The Leftovers is not a show about the disappearance. The disappearance is a device. What The Leftovers is actually about is grief. Specifically, the kind of grief that has no resolution, the kind where you never get closure, never get answers, never get to properly mourn because the thing you lost didn't die in a way the world knows how to process. It's about how people survive the unsurvivable, how some people find faith, and some people find rage, and some people find each other, and some people just keep breaking and somehow keep going. Season 1 is devastating. Season 2 completely reinvents the show and is even better. Season 3 is one of the greatest final seasons in television history, an act of creative courage that I still think about regularly. Damon Lindelof, yes, the Lost guy, made something here that is unlike anything else on television. It asks questions it refuses to answer. It sits in uncertainty and makes that uncertainty feel like the most honest thing in the world. The Leftovers is the show I would save if I could only save one.
And the fact that it exists in the shadow of louder, flashier shows, that it gets a fraction of the cultural conversation it deserves, is the clearest example I can give you of why the TV canon needs to be challenged.
And here we are. Banshee. I need you to understand something before I describe this show. Banshee is not prestige television in the conventional sense. It is not somber. It is not slow. It does not ask you to sit with difficult emotions in quiet rooms. Banshee is a show about a master thief who gets out of prison, assumes the identity of a small-town sheriff in Pennsylvania Amish country, and proceeds to have the most violent, chaotic, completely unhinged life that television has ever depicted, all while trying to reconnect with the woman he loves, who has built an entirely new life and identity of her own. It sounds insane. It is insane. That is the point. But here's what separates Banshee from every other crazy action show you've ever watched. It actually cares about its characters. Deeply. The action is extraordinary. Some of the best choreographed fight sequences ever put on television. But the show earns every punch, every consequence, every emotional beat. The lead character has no name. We never learn his real name. And somehow, over 4 seasons, he becomes one of the most compelling protagonists in TV history. Because underneath all the violence and chaos, Banshee is a show about identity. About who you are when everything that defined you has been taken away. About whether people can actually change or whether they just get better at pretending. Banshee ran on Cinemax, 4 seasons. It ended on its own terms, by choice, at exactly the right moment. And then it disappeared because Cinemax canceled its original programming and the show lost its platform. It deserves to be talked about in the same breath as The Sopranos. It deserves to be on every greatest TV list. It is not. And that is genuinely one of the great injustices of the modern television landscape. Watch Banshee.
So, 10 shows. Banshee, The Leftovers, Slow Horses, The Devil's Hour, Braun Brone, Ripley, Patrick Melrose, Legion, Blue Mountain State, Behind Her Eyes. Here's what all 10 of these shows have in common. And it's not genre, it's not tone, it's not where they aired. It's this. None of them got the moment they deserved. Some were on the wrong platform at the wrong time. Some were too strange for mainstream audiences and not strange enough for cult audiences. Some just quietly came out, got watched by a small group of people who loved them intensely, and then disappeared before the algorithm could do anything with them. Meanwhile, the same conversation keeps happening. The same shows keep getting recommended. The same canon keeps getting reinforced. And every year, more great television slips through the cracks because nobody is paying attention to the cracks. That's what this channel is here for. Not to tell you that the shows you love are wrong, not to tear things down for the sake of it, but to make sure that the conversation about television is as wide and as honest as the medium itself deserves. To find what's been missed. To make the argument for shows that earned it and never got it. And yes, occasionally, to challenge the shows that got more than they earned. If even one of these 10 shows ends up on your watch list tonight, that's the whole point. That's exactly what Peak TV Moments is for. Subscribe if you want more of this. Like the video if you think these shows deserve better. And in the comments, tell me, which of these have you already seen? Which one are you starting tonight? And if you have your own criminally underrated recommendation, drop it below, because the best suggestions go straight into the content calendar. I'll see you in the next one.